My name's Tom Jennings, and this is the 24 Frames cast. Now, I was going to do a bonus episode this week on some Michael Curtiz picks that I took from the recent biography I read and listened to of his, but I simply wasn't going to get time to go through all the films. I wanted to and record my thoughts about them, but I was always keen to keep up a weekly show format. So I was going to do one of these episodes and probably as a bonus episode in the following week, but I'm going to do it as a bonus episode today, because one thing I've made a concerted effort to do this year is to buy more physical media, and in particular I like to pick up my purchases from either HMV or FOP in Manchester, because they are my favourite. Well, FOP is certainly my favourite shop in Manchester, and I like to give it money whenever I can. And also, I have massively cut back on drinking. Not that I was approaching alcoholic territory or anything, but just not having a pint when I go to the cinema and not having that extra glass of wine or two on a Sunday evening. And with the money I've saved, I have decided to reinvest it into more productive stuff. So I've got 4 picks that I've picked up over the past month. They are all new releases to 2026, and I'm going to go through them now with some recommendations. So first up is a Francois Truffaut film, The Wild Child. Now, this is the first time this has been available on Blu-ray in the UK. It's been released by Radiance, and I have never seen this Francois Truffaut film, and I would like to add that I saw Jules et Jim last week on the big screen in Manchester, and having never watched that film projected before, it was a joy to behold. And I'm pleased to report that The Wild Child is a really interesting film. It focuses the work of a schoolteacher played by Truffaut himself to kind of civilize a young boy who has been found out in the woods of France. And I cannot not imagine that this film served as some kind of influence for David Lynch's The Elephant Man. And I have to say, I was really taken by this film. I think it is one of Truffaut's best. And as I understand, he didn't really think it was going to be as commercially viable as it was. And it was quite a big hit when it came out in 1970. It looks fantastic and sounds great as well. Radiance has done a really good job with the restoration and the presentation of the film. It comes with a really interesting booklet, some interviews with Truffaut that were filmed on set, and a new video essay talking about where the film fits into Truffaut's career. Next up was David Lynch's The Straight Story and the UHD of that, and I haven't seen this film since it came out in 1999. I did try and watch a DVD copy of it once, and it was such a poor quality transfer that I gave up after about 5 minutes. So it is something of a joy that this has been brought out on 4K in a Dolby Vision Master. And wow, this film really knocked me for 6. Having not seen it in so many years, I was absolutely taken with it. It is only a road movie only David Lynch can do. So often when we think of the road movie, obviously we think of Easy Rider and whatnot, and David Lynch, of course, in his own style, manages to make one that takes place on a lawnmower at about 5 miles an hour. But it is a simply wonderful film telling the story of Alvin Straight as he travels across Middle America to see his brother, played by Harry Dean Stanton, who has had a stroke. It looks absolutely beautiful. The only thing I found a little bit jarring was Sissy Spacek's performance. She plays the daughter of Alvin Straight, who's played by Richard Farnworth, and she's obviously got mild learning difficulties, and I did find her performance a little bit jarring. But on the whole, this is a wonderful film. Everyone who Alvin comes across, he manages to move, and in some ways inspires acts of generosity and kindness. He delivers worldly advice, but not in a kind of preachy way, but in a way in which someone who is just sitting there and done that, and might have a little bit of knowledge to impart on everyone who comes across. It is absolutely gorgeous to look at, shot by veteran cinematographer Freddie Francis. The Dolby Vision certainly does this part America a huge service. The kind of the golden sunsets and the beautiful fields of corn. I was completely mesmerized by this, and it felt like I was watching a film being projected, and I cannot recommend it enough. It does come with a bunch of features, a commentary, a making of, some interviews with David Lynch, and some behind the scenes footage. This is one of the first Studio Canal releases, though, that I've ever picked up that's been UHD that doesn't include a Blu-ray with it, but hopefully I'll be upgrading my projector soon to a 4K one, so I won't need the Blu-ray to play up there. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed this. Studio Canal stuff as well, I don't often see it come in kind of like multi-buy offers, so they do come down in price, but this was £23 from FOP, so yeah, definitely do check that one out. So next up was a release from the British Film Institute, and this was Cinema Expanded, the films of Frederick Wiseman. Now, if you are not familiar with Frederick Wiseman, he is a documentary filmmaker that was really, he's kind of, I suppose, his golden period was in the 60s and 70s when he directed 5 of the films which are included here, called Titicut Follies, High School, Hospital, Juvenile Court and Welfare. He is a documentary style whose style basically is to go into an organisation, say the titular Welfare, and record a ton of footage and then find the film in the editing process. He didn't really kind of go out with a particular plan of what he was trying to capture. He would just capture a bunch of footage and form a narrative out of it. And his films explore organisations and the people that they interact with. And I don't think it's hard to really define his style as one thing other. You can only say that it is the style of Frederick Wiseman. I first came across his films, I think the first one I saw might have been Hospital, and when I was at university, and his films were really hard to get hold of, and it wasn't until I found them on a download site. I think it was Kino who'd put up a box set, and I managed to watch some of the other ones that are included here, and these really are fascinating portraits of a society from 40, 50 years ago. Titicut Follies is a film about a mental asylum, and it is genuinely one of the hardest films to watch. It's, I think, definitely essential, but it makes, I suppose, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest seem something of an easy ride. But he is one of the most influential filmmakers of his generation, and deserves more, I think, in terms of his recognition as being part of the American New Wave movement of the 60s and 70s. And these transfers look fantastic. They are very grainy, everything kind of 16mm, but these Blu-rays more than do justice to the film. They look great, and this collection also comes with a really interesting booklet and a great video essay that I watched. So yeah, that's Cinema Expanded, the films of Frederick Wiseman by the British Film Institute. Next up as well was a Criterion release of a film I was really looking forward to seeing again. I hadn't actually watched this in 11 years, and all we've had so far to go for is a fairly kind of poor quality DVD that came back out in 2004, and it was Jonathan Grazer's Birth, which has been given the full Dolby Vision UHD experience by Criterion. I'm not sure I'd say it's a masterpiece, but I certainly think it's one of my favourite films of this century. On the other hand, I can easily see why people will have issues with it, and indeed I do have a few nagging doubts about the film. I don't think the last third of this film is particularly satisfactory. It's hard to define what it is. It's a psychological horror movie, perhaps, would be one way of describing it if you're not familiar with the stories. Nicole Kidman plays a widower whose husband has died several years before and is about to become married again when a small boy knocks on her door claiming to be the reincarnation of her dead husband. And if that sounds a bit weird, trust me, there are some massively uncomfortable scenes in this film. which people seem to really struggle with, and it's those people who seem to kind of give this film the lower grades perhaps. I saw a review of it on Blu-ray.com where I think the reviewer was particularly offended about the content and only gave the film 2 out of 5. I think it's a brilliant film. I do like Jonathan Glazer's work. I wish he would shut up more at the Oscars when he's winning an award, but Criterion have done a great job with this. It looks, and above all, it sounds fantastic. It has a 5.1 DTS HD soundtrack that really sounded great. It does come with the Blu-ray as well, and I've watched it both on my 4K television and the 1080p projector, and both looked really great. It comes with a ton of extras. Props for Criterion for going out to when this film was a colossal box office failure, and it was kind of part of the period where Kidman seemed to be one of the most popular actors in the world, but her films, she did make quite a lot of films that lost quite significant portions of money, but I think this one will hang around for a long time. I really like the cover art as well on this Criterion edition. It's quite simple but strangely affected. It's a hard film to define. It's interesting, and I can easily see why people either love it or hate it, but I certainly love it, and I'm really pleased that Criterion have managed to get this out. Now, the one I'm going to conclude with is so far probably the Rolls-Royce release that we've had this year. I think my copy might have come slightly earlier because I pre-ordered it online from Arrow, but they have done a wonderful job with John Boorman's Excalibur. I watched this relatively recently, just before Christmas. I had the Warner Brothers Blu-ray of it, and I thought that was actually quite good, especially the sound department. But having watched this last night on Dolby Vision on 4K, I was absolutely blown away. If I do upgrade the projector, this will probably be one of the first discs I watch. Excalibur is a kind of a balmy film. Just sometimes it just veers into almost being a bit silly. It's like every single actor in it has been turned up to has been told to really go for it. Lots of the lines are kind of delivered in this incredibly shouty way, and sometimes you do wish it would kind of settle a little bit. John Boorman can do hokey, let's be honest with you. I think we can all agree that Zardoz is obviously should be the Sight and Sound greatest film of all time, and tragically isn't, but this man can do bad and he can do great as well, and at times this film can slip between the two, but overall as a film watching experience I think it's absolutely fantastic. What I really like about this one as well is that it comes in the original framing, which is 1:66:1. The Blu-ray previously came out as 1:85:1, and I did notice the additional screen at the top and bottom of the image, giving a little bit more detail. Perhaps it had been kind of slightly blown up on the original Blu-ray, but the difference for me is the colours are just absolutely pop. And as I was watching the film, obviously it's set in the fantastical world of the Arthurian legend, and I thought, my God, this film looks absolutely incredible, and what a great kind of English mythology this was presenting. And of course, when I got to the end, I realised the film was actually filmed in Ireland. That's why it looked so good. But I'm going to forgive John Boorman because this is an absolute cracking film. It comes absolutely loaded with extras. In all, you get 3 discs. I haven't even begun making my way through all of them, but there's contemporary documentaries directed by Neil Jordan. There's a new retrospective making of, plus the Blu-ray presentation of the 120-minute TV version of the film, various commentaries. I will have a great, and also a really quite good booklet, which I'm going to work my way through, and a poster of the film as well, a reprint of the one-sheet posters. Annoyingly, not an actual one-sheet poster, but I certainly do want to get a version of that up on my wall. Like I said, this is, I think, the statement release of physical media release of the year. So if I can see this one selling out quite quickly, so if you haven't, get yourself over to Arrow and bag a copy. I've been caught out before with Arrow UHDs because I've decided to be tight and try and save myself some postage on Amazon by ordering from there. And when it comes to the release date, your order more than likely will be cancelled. So it is important to get in early on those Arrow releases and get your pre-order in. And yes, you do have to pay a bit extra in postage, but it's well worth picking up, because what they tend to do, I'm sure as you collectors know, this will probably come out again in about 6 months minus some of the special features discs. So that is definitely my pick of this current crop of films. That's John Boorman's Excalibur from Arrow Films. So that'll be it for my physical media purchase roundup. I will do another one of these in a month's time. I've already got a few more that have been arriving. My God, how much money can you save when you stop drinking? But that's a story for another day. So many thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode. You can email me at 24framescast.com. Please, if you do like the show, leave a review wherever you can, and you can head over to my YouTube channel as well and subscribe there. And you can find me at TomJ1979. There's some video essays that I've done that are up there as well. So many thanks for listening, and I'll be in contact soon. Bye.